Hi, I'm Theo, and these broadcasts are to support the blogs on nomoreshee.com's website as well as the online classes. In this episode, basic tips in using logos, an example for new users. I want to do a basic video for people to understand some simple tips in using Logos to make Bible study much easier. But unfortunately, my audio filter failed. And so in the first part of the video, there's a lot of background noise. And I just wanted to let you know at the beginning that this is my normal my normal context and environment for making these videos that I have to deal with. And and then the filter does such a wonderful job. So just thought I'd let you clue you in on that. Welcome to another broadcast of No More She. And we want to focus in on a few simple tricks of reading the Bible in Logos. And so I wanted to go to my demo account I use. That's just the free things. I want to open up the Bible. And so let's just take, for instance, James chapter 2. We're in the book of James. Let's look at chapter 2 here. All right. So if you click on the word faith here, what I want you to see, hopefully you can see this again. Sometimes it's rough because of my screen recording. Software does not agree all the time. But we have down here, I clicked on the word faith in chapter 2 of James, and it's the Greek word pistis. But hopefully what you can see here is and again, this is the reverse interlinear, and I just cannot say enough. Go research this out. I've given 6 steps on my channel for getting the free version of Logos. And at the last step, it gives you some tools for training, and you can go find the videos on using the reverse interlinear and how to adjust all these things, and what, the important things about them. But clicking here on the word faith in James chapter 2, verse 1, I want you to see that it's highlighting everywhere this same Greek word appears. Now, in the Lexham English Bible, it may not be so problematic because it uses the same word, faith. But some other translations might, depending on how the word is used, might change how they translate that Greek word. But for me, it's just wonderful because I click on this faith, I get all this information in the reverse interlinear down here at the bottom. It lets me know this information. Even gives me what's called the morphology. So in the Greek, it's a noun accusative singular feminine right here in this particular sentence. But every time that Greek word appears in elsewhere on my screen, and if I just keep scrolling, it would keep showing me. But every time that Greek word appears, it's highlighted for me. So that just helps me so much. So some of the features that I want to highlight. And then you can go here and get some viewing options. We have, again, we've highlighted, we clicked on these options to give us this. Okay. But say, if you want to shut some of that off, you can shut some of that off. Now, what's interesting here is, I wanted to show you this. And in case you haven't seen it before, but I wanted to show. This is a powerful tool, okay? So if I click again on these 3 dots next to the passage in question and click on Bible text only, all right? And I can keep that on, but I can shut off some of my notes and highlighting everything. I just want to read the text. This is, for me, exciting. Okay, here's an option. I just want to see the biblical text. I don't want verse numbers. I don't want anything in my way. So I just want to freely be able to read through the book of James. or whatever passage I'm under study. I don't want to worry about verse numbers because, the translations, and the people who gave us the verse numbers, sometimes, it's tricky. I was asked not too terribly long ago about someone wanting some committee, the Bible committee in country, in one of the countries that I was in, asked me about how to deal with a verse in Ephesians because a certain word appears in the NIV in one verse, but in the ESV in another. And, in the Greek manuscripts, it appears in a certain place. But for trying to capture what is intended by the author, the biblical author, it was very difficult. And so the translation committee was trying to best decide. The local in-country Bible Society was trying to figure out how to best translate into their language. And they asked me, being, a biblical study guys, what to do. And I tried to help them with it as much as possible. Found some articles that related and some information, some commentaries and things for them, the committee, to make a proper choice. But in the Greek manuscript, if we follow the versification that was done for us in the chapters and the verses, the Greek word appears in, the latter verse, but the NIV decided that for English language, it's better for that idea to be grouped with the concepts in the previous verse. And so they were trying to figure out what to do themselves. And it's not easy. Because again, if you go to the preface of any Bible, and I would always highly suggest you do that, this is one of the most overlooked sections of people's Bibles, the preface, okay? And I've got highlighted here, biblical text only, so I need to turn that back off and, go back here to the preface, okay? And when you deal with the preface of a translation, in that preface, they're going to give you lots of information behind the translation philosophy going on underneath and what type of philosophy was engaged. And there's something called formal equivalence, like the ESV or the King James Version of the Bible, which is desperately trying as much as possible to do a word-for-word wooden translation so that when you get to, like James that we had earlier, and when you go to chapter 2 and you click on the word faith, then every time you see the word faith in a passage, they're going to try to translate this Greek word, pistis, the same way every time, in a word for word. And sometimes in what you call something like the NIV, you have a more different translation dynamic going on, and they call it dynamic equivalence, where they're focusing on how best to bring the original language into the current form of the target language. So they're focusing more on meaning, and instead of word for word, it's meaning. And that's important, and that's why it's best in biblical studies that a person who's unfamiliar with the original languages, that they should, look at. And even those that are, it's interesting to look at the different English translations of how it was done differently. And so the NIV versus the ESV or King James. And then you have other translations like the New Living Translation that get more of a paraphrase, where they're almost like what you would do when you're preaching and you're trying to explain what a text means, and you go beyond an equivalence to reach outside the box, to try to, paraphrase it a little bit and try to put in your own words what is behind the Greek. And of course, Eugene Peterson, famous scholar for doing the Message Bible, does a really good job of that, of thinking outside the box. And it's wonderful to read something like the paraphrases, like Eugene Peterson's The Message Bible, or for a few generations ago, the Living Bible, and try to, again, look at a Bible verse and see it in a different way, and try to help you then think through why the translator chose that particular thing. And so it kind of helps you. So I wanted just to lay down a few simple things of how in Logos, the idea that you can just have the biblical text only, and how that refreshing that can be for you then to engage the text and not get caught up in all the notes sometimes and all the numbers. The notes, the footnotes, again, those in biblical studies, those are very, very important. And you should spend time in those notes and in those footnotes. And you should spend time digging through those and understanding, what's behind these translators' notes. And especially, I have spent extensive time on my channel to highlight something like the Net Bible that has extensive notes that you can get at biblia.com. And, they go even deeper. And those notes are very important. And I think that they should be done. But sometimes it's just refreshing to read a text without all of that and just kind of enjoy the text. And this is as close as you're going to get if you're not able to read Greek. And if you are, it'd be very difficult because you then, got to get all your tools out because you may not be so fluent in Greek. So it's really as close as we can get to what was originally intended and how they originally received this letter, because they don't have chapter numbers, they don't have verse numbers, they don't have anything to guide them. And so this is all they have. And of course, the choices then are how to bring that Greek text over into the English and have sentences and paragraphs where the Greek grammar may allow longer sentences or different paragraphs and different dividers, and how we decide, what a pericope is and where to put the spaces and breaks in. That's still here, but so, sometimes some of the manuscripts, it's just letters, and there's no, even in the Hebrew, there's no vowels. I mean, it's just letters and there's no vowels. And so, it can get tricky in deciding, okay, this word is really close, and if it's spelled with these vowels, it's a different word. And, when you get into lexicon down here sometimes, and you get words in a lexicon, then which one is it? Because sometimes the word in a dictionary may have multiple meanings. And so in any given lexicon, it might be that word that's chosen may have more than one meaning in the text. And so it may not be exactly the same word meaning. There may be multiple meanings of that word, and in this sense, it may turn out to be something different. And a lot of times you'll see that down here in the reverse interlinear, where we're given a word and then we're giving a different word. And that's where I love some of the other tools for the semantical ranges that are available in Logos that I have additionally purchased to get some of those semantical ranges to try to see that a word may have multiple meanings. It's the same word, but obviously it's used differently by different authors in different contexts. And so it's fun to get behind those with some more tools, and that's what some of the notes in the Net Bible will help get you behind. But I also, as much as I love all of that as a biblical studies guy, I also it's refreshing just to switch all that off and even turn this reverse interlinear off, and, try to, as much as possible, switch off everything that there is, and, try not to, you can switch everything on Logos off as much as possible, and don't even show the footnotes, don't show anything, and switch everything off, and, having the least amount of information on the page, and just spend some time with the text by itself. I remember that one of my students asked me, how can I just do that? And I said, well, it's in Logos. They make it really easy. Obviously, if you click on a word, you're going to get at the top here that it is chapter 4, verse 4. So if you kind of get lost there, you can get some help. But sometimes it's just nice to switch everything off and just read the Bible as close as one can get with how it was delivered in the day, where it was just a codex or a manuscript of some kind or a scroll or something, where it was just, delivered and this is it. There's no divisions. Obviously they're going to know when they go into another book like Peter, but, this is even deleted all of that. So, here we are in the book of Hebrews and we roll right on into the book of James. And so, that's something there. So that's pretty exciting. Now, obviously at the bottom here, you're going to see that when you do click on something or hover over something, there's still a little bit going on, and you can still switch some of that off here and get rid of even that, so that that you just don't get anything, and keep switching everything off until you get nothing, as much as possible, and just spending time with the text and read it. So I wanted to highlight that both are good. Completely what we call in the Western world a vanilla text, where there's just nothing. Everything is switched off. Obviously, then it gets a little challenging, because then you're going to want to at times to switch things back on. And see, that just switched on the inline, and you may not want that. But the inline can have lots of things. And so you may want to switch that on or off, depending. And the inline. Now, I do want to show you this, because I think this is important. And this is what I was trying to get at earlier. Okay? So I've switched things off, so I probably need to switch things back on. So let me switch back and get back on some things, okay? So I was talking about earlier Laonida and semantical ranges. So in your interlinear, okay, we turn this interlinear on, we have choices. You can have the transliterations appear, the lemmas, the roots. You can get all this information. So if we stack it all up, you get all this information here. So this is the word, I wanted to show you this. This is the word James, and here it is for us. And here's the transliteration, so you can get what is actually in the Greek text, what is actually the lemma that you look up in the dictionary to find this word, and what the root word is for some of these things. Okay, so you can see you have all this in the Greek information. You have your morphology. Okay, so what is that? Okay, and I've shut things off because I was doing the vanilla, but you can get that information. You see at the bottom here, my screen, if you look, your eyes, if I move the mouse, you won't see it. So if you go to the bottom of the screen and look, it's a noun, nominative, singular, masculine. This is the Strong's number, and again, you can see at the very, very bottom of the screen, Strong's Greek 1401. But here's something interesting. This is the Laonida. And if you click on Laonida, you're not going to get that information in the free version. Laonida is something that you have to purchase. So it says no resources in library contain this reference, and you have to buy that. Okay, so that's kind of a sad deal. But the fact that you get the Laonida number, okay, I didn't have that. Let's see if I can get back, because I punched that. I want to get back to the full screen here that I've popped this window out. The fact that you get the number, okay, that to me is telling. So let's go to James 2, which I gotta scroll down. And we're talking about faith here. And I wonder, I guess I can turn the reverse interlinear on too, so we can have a little bit of fun here. Now, reverse interlinear pane, okay, Oh, it doesn't give you Laonida. Oh, it does. Oh, I had it switched off. Wow. Okay. Let me switch off this then. I am so sorry. Okay. So in the verse interlinear, okay, you do have the opportunity to have Laonida. So this is, I'm sorry, this is something exciting for me in the free version. All right. So I need to turn on some of the options I turned off earlier. All right. So I turned off some of these just to get a plain vanilla text. All right. So faith. Okay. So faith. And faith appears all these times. Here's the Laonida number. Now, you don't have Laonida unless you can find it online, and I have not searched to see if it's available online. It may be. But you do have the number. That's going to be, in a sense, enough. Because this word faith here is Laonida 31.104. Now, without having Laonida, because in my paid version, I click on this, and it'll take me to Laonida, and I'll get that. But it's not available in the free version. But the number is important, and I want to show you this, because I'm always battling to try to help people who do not have the funds and resources to buy Laonida, but there's the number. You click on the next occurrence of faith, and it's 31.102, and here it's 31.104. So you know that the semantical range has changed slightly from here to here. So at least you got that information, and that's important. It's not very far off, it's very close, but it's still changed some. Let's go to the next word of faith. It's 31.85. This is, let's go back up here, 31.102, and up here it's 31.104. So 104 and 102 here is really close, but then this is something different. So that's going to give you an idea that Laonida has classified these words in the semantical ranges differently. So this faith here, and this faith here. Let's see if we can have some fun now. I'm going to dock this tab. I'm going to go here. Okay, I want to get rid of, got to clean my screen up a little bit. And I'm going to get rid of the passages guide. I'm going to move the King James over here. Just because I want to show you this. And I could have actually also hit duplicate. Okay, so let's go to Romans chapter 4. Okay. What shall we say that Abraham our ancestor? And one of the great things about the Lexham English Bible, is that it's really good to play with your interlinear. But we have the reverse in Logos, so that's nice. Okay. So, faith here. Faith here, in Romans 4:9, faith here is the 31.85, and I want to show you that faith here in James 2:14 is 31.85. So they're the same semantical number. That's what I wanted you to see. Okay. Even though you don't have Laonida in the free version of Logos. Okay, let me get rid of some of this. Even though you don't have Laonida, you do have the fact that faith in Romans 2:9 and faith in James 2:14 was classified by scholars Laonida. And you, again, if you want to go deep into this, you can study it. But they're classified identically. It's the same semantical range. So when you go to Laonida, it's going to list for you all the different ways the word pistis is used in the Bible. And they have divided it up, and it's used kind of like this, and then over here it's used kind of like that. It's used slightly different, as we just saw when we move back and forth, okay, in James, because up here it's used slightly different than it is here, and then it's used differently here. But So to pick up those nuances, you can begin to see, at least you can make a connection that there is a slight difference up here. That James is using faith in one sense, slightly different sense here. And then he's using this sense here. And then Paul, again, we clicked on the word. Isn't this great? You click on the word faith over here in Paul, and you see it's up here. 3185 for Paul. Okay, down here, 3185 for Paul. 3185 for Paul. So you can begin to see that Louw-Nida, some scholars, have chosen the same semantical range for all of these uses of the word pistis that Abraham in Romans 4. And you just click on each one of those and you can check the Louw-Nida. Even though the fact you don't own the resource Louw-Nida and you can't look this up, and maybe you can Google it and maybe you can find it. I have yet to do that. That would be exciting if I find Louw-Nida. Then that'd be awesome if we can find Louw-Nida on. Okay. And interesting, Logos has all this information here that'll give you more information depending on the resources that you own. So, but clicking through here, that Louw-Nida is the same for James. It's the same for Paul when they're both talking about Abraham. So the semantical range has not changed that much. And, this is where it gets tricky in some of these discussions. Justified. Here's what James means by justified. And see if we can't find, so it's 88 and Louw-Nida 16. All three of these places, okay? And here's, righteousness. Over here, righteousness. 88:13, 88:13 is the same. And then justified, it's here, justified is 88:16. Okay, and here's, again, you can see the information for the Greek word. Okay, over here, okay, what do we have? 34:46. That's quite different than 88. 34 and 88 is numbers apart. That means that Louw-Nida has decided that there's something different going on in this justify than something going on in this justify. And then we go up here, and it's again 34:46. Okay, so that tells you, and again, if we go back up here, it's something different. 56:34 than down here. So if you can get access to Louw-Nida, then you can look these numbers up in Louw-Nida, and wow, you can have, obviously if you pay for it, it's just a click away. You click on this button or even hover over it, and it's going to appear a lot of times in this information window on here in the paid version. If you paid for Louw-Nida, if you bought that and had it to your library. And again, you may not have the funds, but the exciting thing is if someone can give you a gift card, then you could purchase Louw-Nida with that gift card. So someone can give you a gift card in Logos, and then you can spend it on whatever resources that you would find useful in your studies. And I wanted to show you that that's exciting to get that information. Okay, now I did find this website that gives some functionality to playing with Louw-Nida. So you can do some searches and get some more information that will allow you to play with that. So I thought that was interesting, that you can check this website out. It's interesting because it has here, I'm not sure how this website works, so this is the address here. I'll have it a link in the description. So but it's interesting because this has some things here that ties Louw-Nida, and the section numbers. So you can play with these words a little bit and get an idea and play around with this. And, now remember, Louw-Nida is only dealing with the New Testament Greek. It's not dealing with the Old Testament Hebrew at all. And I don't think that, they've expanded it all to include anything with the Greek translation of the Old Testament that's often called the Septuagint. So the Hebrew Bible is not in play here. But again, you do have some functionality with this website that I will include in the link in the description so that you can play around with Louw-Nida a little bit and have some functionality. And you can search the SBL, you can search Westcott Hort, Tischendorf, and the Byzantine. So you can play with those for free. So this is another tool to help you for those who are limited in the resource department to get access to some of the tools that you can use your biblical Greek experience and continue it, despite the fact that you don't have, again, the funds to own something like Louw-Nida. Although I would suggest, again, that you look into purchasing something like that. So, but this is, I think, this is fascinating. Going to Logos's website, we can do a search, perhaps, and see about finding Louw-Nida. Because again, I just find Logos to be, it is pretty expensive. Here's the Greek English lexicon of the New Testament based on semantical domains. So here's Louw-Nida. You can click on that. So if you can get someone to gift you this amount of money, you could add it to your cart and could then have it a part of your Logos. Now, again, they have all these packages down below, and again, your academic, versions of Logos include that. And that's by virtue of how I got it, because I needed these to do my degrees, to do my research, and to teach. But here's a package. It's included with, again, for $80. So if you would be able to buy this package, you would get other resources. So when the packages are nice to get the resources cheaper, but sometimes, you scroll down here and something could be on sale or some package and it's really affordable. But at this point, no, this is only probably your best bet is just to find someone where you could get a hold of this amount and again add. Now I will add this, that because my students sign in and get the free Logos, they have an academic discount, and sometimes there's a discount that would be applied to certain resources. So you just have to sign in, and then you have to see the price. And because, this is my demo account, so it doesn't work. So you would have to sign in and then look at the price. And oftentimes an academic discount would lower your cost significantly. And you could get this even cheaper than this price. Obviously, the normal price has already been discounted and further. And then perhaps someone donating to you a Logos gift card, then, that would be another option for you as well. So I would highly recommend that you try to get resources that you would find useful and add it to your Logos library and it become a part of your study. I would highly recommend it whenever you can do that. So thank you very much, and God bless you for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes in videos to help you with your journey from nomorec.com.